Rahubat.
Rahobat.
Is that Amun?
Tua. Can you hear
Uh,
me?
Tua, I can hear you nice and clear, brother.
Great.
Welcome on board. Welcome on the platform. Great to have you.
It's great to be here, Zamal. And
Excellent.
I really appreciate, I love what you're doing, and I really appreciate it. This is definitely something that's needed for our people. Um, it's definitely something that's needed uh, to help free Dr. York because he's innocent. He's also a Liberian diplomat. He should have never been in prison in the first place.
Absolutely.
Um, and yeah, it's really a wonderful thing, you know. So the world could
Absolutely.
see what Dr. York represented, what he was teaching, what he had to offer to us, to the world. And I know many people are blindsided because of the case and the conspiracy against Dr. York. And but with the help of OSM, it shows people what Dr. York was really about and what he was doing. So it helps open the minds and hearts of people. And I really appreciate that.
Appreciate love you, Zamal. You guys also doing such a great job with the Telegram group, the Free Dr. York, and Jabari, yourself, and everyone that is on the platform. So yeah, I want to just return the compliments and appreciation back to you too. I think you're right. For a long time, people have only heard the voices of the media and people who had a motive to come against Dr. York and to come against us. And so it's finally great that we can have people such as yourself who are knowledgeable on the case and others that have just had an experience in terms of the impact Dr. York Parnababyanun, the master teacher, has had on their life. And yeah, so it's great that we're able to tell our story. And yeah, I want you to feel free introduce yourself in anyhow you want to, and let's focus. What I really would like today to get out of today is to address the issues. I mean, there's so many, but as many as we can, of the holes in the case, of the things that the average listener may not have even considered. Like just run through anything that would make someone who only heard one side or heard kind of like the media or the hearsay and the propaganda to give them the other side, as much points as you can possibly cover today. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I definitely do that. Based on the research that I've had done, I follow Dr. York's lead. Well, I'm not the only one that's knowledgeable. There's a lot of people that are not Nawapi and Sabians that are knowledgeable of the case, and it's been ongoing for over 20 years. So there's many people that presented the facts and still is presenting the facts about the case. So I'm just doing my part
Mm.
as a Dr. Malachi Z York freedom supporter. Um, what I have learned over the years, and there was a lot of things I didn't know until Jabari got on Clubhouse. So much, there's a lot of credit due to him that helped me open my eyes to the mechanics of the case, the intricate details of the trial, right?
Right.
So, and what I've learned is that you can't look at this Dr. York, the conspiracy against Dr. York, for this case of this trial. You can't have a emotional. You have to look at it from a binary mind state,
Mm.
like uh, zeros and ones, not an emotional mind state. Because if you're emotional, right,
Hmm.
those endorphins, well, every time that okay, let's say the word sex, right? There's an endorphin that goes off in your brain, a chemical release of like a pleasure release in the brain,
Mm.
right? When you say child, that's a different type of endorphins, the chemical release where, oh, it's a child, protect the child, right?
Right.
And then, but when someone says, well, Dr. York is a child molester, those are endorphins, chemical endorphins that's released in the brain, right? You already sentenced, your brain, your senses are high
Mm.
or released when the word sex comes in, and then you say child, you did what to children, and then automatically in your mind, you immediately begin to hate Dr. York. You see what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Yeah.
Even if they haven't even done the research and studied the trial or case or conspiracy against them, it's already uh supplanted in their mind, and those endorphins, those chemical endorphins are already released. So if you're looking at it from an emotional point of view, you can't do that. You have to look at this case, and this is what I did. I removed all the sexual explicit things that the so-called victims were saying that Dr. York did, right? And then once I did that, I started to see clearly that he was set up.
Right.
And the reason why I'm saying that is because when I listened to the FBI, one of the FBI agents that was in charge of the investigation, Jolene Ward, on the FBI files case number 268, and she made statements that the Abigail Washington, who was one of the and and she said Abigail Washington and the girls
Mm.
had told the FBI agent that Dr. York did this to them and did that to them, and he did it to other children on the land, which was the five children on the land, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when I further research, which included the mysteries behind closed doors, right? And I found the news articles and I pulled it up. The five children, after the land was invaded, the five children was taken into de facto custody, which they found nothing never happened to the children, which they later testified that nothing never happened to them. You see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, wait a minute. So when I'm listening to Jolene Ward, right, describing these sexual things that Dr. X supposed to have done to Abigail and Nicole and or other people, right? She already subliminally clouded your judgment because
Mm.
they got you listening to the sexual parts,
Right.
and you don't see that that these girls who said that claim to be victims said that they were on the land and that they were there and saw Dr. York molest these five children, who the five children testified and said that's not true. Nothing never happened.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that means that Abigail Washington, Nicole Hardin, and Nikki Lopez is lying
Mm.
because they said nothing never happened. You see what
Right.
I'm saying? So that
Absolutely. Yeah.
right. So when you have a
Just for the listeners, when you said D, was it DFAX you said, right?
defects,
Right. That's the kind of child protection agency, right?
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the Department of Child Protective Agencies. And that's what when there's a complaint about a child, defects usually come out right away to investigate what's going on with a child. But
Mm.
in the case with Dr. York, that didn't happen because um, when Seals supposedly got the anonymous letter, right, it
He was
took
on
him
surveillance, right? He was saying, yeah.
right.
Mm-hmm.
He, DFAX was supposed to be immediately contacted to go out there, and they were supposed to immediately show up and do the investigation. But that didn't happen. It took Seals 4 years. So either he was doing his own investigation, or he didn't believe it himself.
Mm.
And that anonymous letter was never produced in court. Okay.
Right.
So yeah, so when you hear these people such as the Chuck Morgan or the FBI agent Julian Ward, and they're reading off the what you call a redacted transcripts, right? Which is uh really meant to confuse people because the redacted, and what that means that the names are blocked out of the so-called victims, so you can't see uh who is talking about or who is accusing Dr. York of doing these things, right? So in your
Mm.
mind, you think that these are children that they're
Right.
talking about because the media had blast all over the world that it was children involved. Dr. York molested children, he molested children, and there was no children involved in the case. The these were adults who said Dr. York did this when they was children, and that
Mm.
they saw Dr. York do this to other children. You see,
Yeah.
and which so you had about 13 to 14 uh so-called victims who were really co-conspirators who all came up with a plot with Jacob
Jacob.
York,
Mm-hmm.
right, who's Dr. Malachi Z York's son,
Mm.
and his childhood friends, and came up with a conspiracy to frame up Dr. York, specifically for different reasons, according to Abigail Washington's recantment video. Some of it was personal reasons other than child molestation. That they wanted to live that lifestyle. They wanted to do what they wanted to do. They wanted to go to the Diddy parties.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? And what Jacob did, he did provided them exactly what they wanted uh, by getting a group of them together that was kicked off the land or left the land. Got him down to his house in Atlanta, and where he was pretty much sleeping with all the so-called victims in the case in the trial, in the conspiracy against Dr. York, and then came up with the trip down to Florida, the South Beach, Florida, and to a hotel orgy party with all the so-called victims that said Dr. York did this to them. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So here you have Jacob York, his son, who was all himself was kicked out the community according to the Lightning from the East book, and
Mm-hmm.
according to some of his own family members, specifically Faisal Campbell
Mm.
and Umkeer York, right? And specifically Faisal Campbell, but he was kicked out. Jacob was kicked out the community for actually molesting children, and
Right.
he took what he did and blamed it on his father, and took it to the FBI and said Dr. York was doing it when he was the one that did it. And
Mm.
and not only was he doing it, but his childhood friends, Nikki Lopez and Abigail Washington, was molesting children, and that's why they got kicked off. But you don't hear this on the Discovery ID and all these documentaries, the Hulu documentaries. They don't tell you that part of it, but
Mm.
it's in the trial transcripts, and it's in and that's one of the reasons why the judge sealed the transcripts,
Mm.
and you could only get a redacted version, which their names are blocked off. So any intelligent person wouldn't go and look up who are these so-called victims and find out what they did. And
Mm.
but when if you could do that, you'll find out that Nicole Lopez Harton, excuse me, Nicole Renee Lopez took a immunity deal.
Plea.
She had
Okay.
immunity agreement.
Mm.
All right. And why did she need an immunity agreement? Because she was molesting some of the young boys on the land, specifically one named Isam Williams,
Mm.
who recently filed a petition uh, to bring out the fact that back in 2002 that he went to the Putnam County Sheriff's Department and told and sat and talked with the Putnam County detective at the time and told
Right.
her that Nicole Lopez uh, molested him when he was a minor.
Right.
But instead of him getting the protection that he need, he was threatened with jail time, and Nicole Lopez was given immunity.
Why was he threatened with jail time?
Well, he was threatened with because the fact that uh they wanted that land and they wanted Dr. York off the street. So
Mm.
because there's many conspiracies within in that conspiracies, but you got to realize is that it's the Putnam County Sheriff Department. I think the brother Imhotep that came on
Yeah,
a
he
couple of
came
weeks
on.
ago.
Mm-hmm.
You remember how he explained about the war, the zoning wars with the
Mm-hmm.
land, and all these things didn't uh you know spun out of that. It was spawned out of the zoning wars and the fight for the land. To get so the moment we start building the pyramids and putting up pyramids and building the land and getting ready for uh you know to turn it into an Egyptian theme park, that's when they really uh started a lot of the slander, um calling Dr. York a cult leader,
Mm-hmm.
that Nuwapians are a cult, and they are already um slandered Dr. York to the point. This is way before um, May 8th, 2002.
Mm.
They already made him look guilty as a cult leader. So they're
Yeah, I mean,
already, yes, go ahead. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna say that a couple of things you touched on, which were that endorphin mechanism, because like you say, they already know that certain words are going to be trigger words that are going to trigger people emotionally. And even before the trial, there was a lot of circulation in terms of flyers and media, already before the trial even began to make Dr. York look, really bad before he even had a chance to defend himself. I wanted to pick up on the second point of what were their motivations? I mean, Jacob, I think many are already familiar with that. He wanted support from his father financially to fund his musical management activities with, people like Little Kim and, the whole Junior Mafia crew. So that I know that's one of the motivations for him wanting to bring Dr. York down. And of course, there's the issue about his mother that he also blamed Dr. York for. So, yeah, do you know any more in terms of the motivations behind why the other people kind of like rallied around him to agree to come with this conspiracy?
Right, right. Well, like these were Jacob York's friends, like he grew up with,
Right.
right? So they were all the best way to describe what as far as what I researched and saw for myself, um, is what Abigail Washington said on her recantment video. All right.
Mm,
And pretty much they all had their own individual personal reasons outside, not outside, but it not including child molestation had nothing to do with it.
mm,
That was what they used to frame him. But it was they had their own personal issues of not being able to do what they wanted to do as
mm.
teenagers, which they wanted to smoke weed, get high,
Yeah.
have promiscuous sex and
Party. Yeah.
parties. Right. This is not only in the Abigail Washington's video, but this is also in handwritten letters that was written by Nikki Lopez. All
Right.
right.
Hmm.
And they're telling you these are the things that they were doing on the land and why they was kicked out. You see, so
Mm,
they came up with this plot with Jacob to get because they were kicked out and they didn't have no money. You know what I mean? So it's like just get, and um, so they came up with a plot to get money, and that
Right.
plot to get money was to get Dr. York, and this is Jacob's idea to get Dr. York set up for child molestation and get the land taken away through the RICO.
Mm,
Okay, so then you have see look at this, Sakin. This is why I say people they should watch the Abigail Washington's recantment video.
mm,
It's a video affidavit she did about 20 years ago. I
mm,
think it's August of 2004, right? To be exact. And in this recantment video, she's describing what they did before they went to the FBI with this story against Dr. Malachi Z York.
mm,
And in the video, she says that her and others, Nicole Lopez and Nicole Hardin, and all the co-conspirators, they prosecuted themselves
mm,
before they went to the FBI. And I think people should pay attention to that. They should really look at what she said.
mm.
She said they prosecuted themselves, which means, right?
Yeah.
As she put it, they prosecuted themselves to make it sound more believable, which means it was scripted.
Mm,
So everything that they're telling the FBI, including the sexual things that Dr. York has supposed to have done to them, was scripted. You see what I'm saying?
yeah.
So it's manufactured.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So I think people should uh understand how important that is,
Yeah.
because when you're listening to the Jillian Ward on the FBI files, and she's saying she's reading from a redacted version of the transcripts, and she's saying this is what Abigail Washington told her when Jacob York uh, brought Abigail Washington after the South Beach trip, took her to the FBI headquarters in Atlanta to meet with the FBI agents and Sheriff
Serious.
Sheriff Seals,
Mm,
right? This is what she told him that Doctor, and she don't say it because she's reading the redacted. She don't say her name when she's reading the redacted version, but it goes like W had York told W to do this to him,
mm,
right, et cetera, et cetera. So, but when you listen, when I said that, I say, wait a minute, let me exclude the sexual perversion parts, and I played it again, and when Jillian Ward said that Abigail Washington said she saw Dr. York do these to these other children. And I said, well, didn't they say nothing never happened? I said, this girl lying.
mm.
So what that means is that recantment video had to be true. Because you gotta
Right.
remember,
Mm.
Abigail Washington recanted that recantment video.
That's right. Yeah.
She said she came back and said nothing ever happened, but she was already uh, under the government payroll. She was given favorable concessions. This is in the trial transcripts, right? She was
Mm.
paid to testify against Dr. York, right? And her guilt, I guess her guilt caught up to her, and she went to recant it, and they was like, "No, you can't do that because you perjure yourself. You're going to
Yeah.
prison. You won't see your children ever again." And
That's a
all,
really important point because she was
hmm
incriminating herself. Because if, well, before even that, the Jacob situation where Jacob was saying that, it had nothing to do with him going to the FBI. But then there was a video circulating with Sheriff Sills, and he explained how Jacob brought Abigail in the car and told her to wait outside, and then he went in, and then he was like, "Yeah, I've got one of the people, one of the witnesses with me now," and then it was like, "Okay, yeah, all right, yeah, bring her in." But yeah, you're right in terms of because
What,
some
what,
of the people like Chuck Morgan will be like, Oh, she was under pressure or under duress to make the recantment video, the first one. But anybody that watches that video will see that you can see clearly that it was genuine and that she was feeling remorseful and feeling like she didn't actually realize it had got to that point that it was going to go so far. So yeah, that's the point that people like that support. I don't even want to mention his name, but yeah,
Right.
they would say that she was under pressure by Nuapians afterwards, and that's
Hmm.
why she made the video, and that's
No,
why
no,
she
no,
subsequently made the
no.
recantment of the recantment video.
Right. Well, see
But go
here,
ahead.
there's a
Yeah.
point that the point is a good point you made is that that video, recampment video, was done in August 2004, which is almost 20 years ago,
Mm,
right? 20 years later, Discovery ID, correct me if I'm wrong, was doing an interview,
mm,
and he describes the same exact thing where he was contacted by Jacob York, and he said Jacob wanted to meet him to tell him what happened or what his father was doing. And Seal said,
correct.
fine, I'll meet you at the FBI office in Atlanta on a certain day. He said when Jacob walked in and he started to explain to him what his father allegedly had done to children, and Seal says, well, I need a witness, to back that story up.
Mm,
And Jacob says, yeah, I got one in the car right now.
that's right.
And
That's
then
right.
look at Seal's face, his expression, like he didn't believe it, right? He's like,
Mm,
what? So when Abigail Washington 20 years ago said the exact same thing, is that after the South Beach trip, right? They went, Jacob took her to meet the FBI in Atlanta, right?
mm-hmm.
She said Jacob went in first to talk to SEALs in the FBI and then came out, got her, and took her back into the office to talk to SEALs in the FBI. Jalene Ward says this again.
Mm,
So you know what that means? Is that that recantment video is either true or SEALs and Jalene Ward is lying.
mm.
Which one is it? Because 20 years ago, you said the exact thing that SEALs and Jalene Ward said 20 years later
Mm.
on the recantment video.
Abs-
People don't pay. So you got to look at that stuff.
Yeah.
We really got to really look at what is going on with this case because they exposed themselves
Mm.
by making up this lie. You can't tell if it say 20 years ago you made a recantment video, then you come back and say, well, the recantment video was a lie when the SEAL said the same thing you said on the recantment video.
Video
So is he
20
lying?
years. Yeah, exactly.
Later.
Mm.
So who's lying? And why is nobody paying attention to that?
Mm.
Why people can't see that? The whole case is a lie. Is a lie. It's a manufactured bogus case. You have with the help of the media, they make you think that oh, it was all these hundreds of children and all this stuff was no, it wasn't. These were all adults, 13 or 14 who 13 or 14 of them who like 8 of them recanted and said nothing never happened and that the other ones was lying.
Mm.
And and then that doesn't include the other 5 who said the people was lying.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? And it's in the transcripts that, well, why did Abigail, Nicole Hardin, and Nikki Lopez and all need immunity? What did they need immunity for?
Mm.
What they were doing? They was the ones that was molesting children on the land, minors on the land.
Mm. So they made the deal with the FBI agents and GBI or whatever to basically get themselves off the hook and then, put Dr. York, ironically, in the position of what Jacob York himself was doing on the land.
Exactly. Right. And that's what that's why they sealed the transcripts and redacted their names.
Hmm.
So no intelligent people would be like, oh, let's go. These are names. Who is this person? Abigail Washington. Let's go look her up. Nicole Hardin. Let's go look what she did. Oh, they all took community agreements, but they blocked their names out.
Mm.
Right? Not only did they block their names out, but the people who took that trip to South Beach and was a witness to the conspiracy on the way there and back, like Farrah Muhammad and a bunch of other people, their testimonies were blocked. Their testimonies to help Dr. York were blocked. The judge would not allow the jury to hear their testimony.
Wow. And the reason being, why did what was the excuse for not allowing their testimonies to be heard, if at
Well,
all?
I'll leave that conversation open up to the brother, the elder Jabari,
Mm.
who can actually give that transcript on how he gives an excellent breakdown of that. So I'm gonna leave that open to him. But what
Okay.
I'm gonna say is that that judge had very biasness and prejudice against Dr. York because he was on a previous case as an attorney.
Is that Ashley? Is
Royals,
that Ro
exactly.
yeah, Ashley Rose. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. He's dirty. That's a real corrupt judge, man. I mean, like, he had a personal vendetta against the York family already
Mm.
because he sat on the board of attorneys at a medical hospital in Macon, Georgia, in which a prominent elder in the community had died because the of a doctor's negligence.
Mm.
Had an operation and they left a sponge in him and it actually eventually killed him.
Mm.
So that hospital was sued and Royal sat on that board in which they lost. And later he was appointed a judge.
Right. So there
You know
was a
what I'm saying?
conflict of interest,
It was a
definitely.
conflict of interest.
Mm.
Exactly. And not only did this judge, it was a conflict of interest, but once you study the mechanics and intricate details of the case, as much credit to Jabari has brought forth, you see that this judge, right?
Hmm.
Let me go back a little bit. The Dr. York's kidnapping and arrest, right? The whole and the invasion raid of Tamaray, the whole operation was called Operation One Man Act,
Hmm.
right?
Mm.
Now, the brother Caffrey explained it I think it was last week,
Mm.
where he said that during Dr. York's bond hearing, when uh, the attorney Ed Garland cross-examined Jolene Ward and asked her if she had any witnesses that stated that the purpose of Dr. York coming down here or coming down to Georgia was to have sex, and she said no. So
Right.
how's the whole operation called Operation One Man Act? What
Yeah.
was how would you get a man act if you didn't have no witnesses in the first place?
Right.
And you keep blasting. So you have two. You have two. You have the federal who was using a state charge. They was running off a state charge, which is child molestation. Child molestation is a state charge, not a federal.
Federal. Right.
You see what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
they were running a federal conspiracy case off of a Georgia state law of child molestation. And what this judge did, right, during his deliberations, is he recited that whole entire state law. I think it's in the Mann Act,
Mm.
right? And the Mann Act is you have count four, count five, count six, count eight of the Mann Act, and he recited the Georgia molestation law 16-6-4 and 5, he incorporated or enveloped it in the Mann Act.
Right.
This is in the transcripts, and
Wow.
then sealed the transcripts. The molestation is a Georgia law. You can't, you're not supposed to do that, Judge.
Mm. Mm.
Not in a federal.
Federal, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So that's why they keep saying molestation, molestation, molestation. And then they sealed the transcripts after he enveloped it in the Mann Act.
Right. And
This is
as you
what
say,
Jabari, this is what
right.
Jabari is pointing out.
And that name, One Man Act, obviously then ties into the RICO because how they have one person on a RICO charge, it
Well,
doesn't make sense.
well, see, how did they get the RICO in the first place? Well, they got the RICO from, and this is how Jabari explains it. He's going to come and explain it more in
Yeah,
detail.
I'm looking forward for Jabari
I'm
to come.
just
Yeah.
scratching the surface, right? But when once they got the Mann Act, right, and they said, well, he came across state, travel across
State,
state
it's
line
about, yeah.
commerce. They use commerce is the key word,
Mm.
right? So when Dr. York, when he was given when he was tortured into a plea deal, right?
Mm.
You got to remember, destruction charges wasn't included in the indictment. Destruction charges in the RICO was superseded indictment,
Mm.
which means that when Dr. York's lawyers tried to say that he was crazy and he wanted they sent him off for a month somewhere in New York to be
Assessed, yeah.
yeah, right. They gave
The evaluation, yeah.
the evaluation, they gave the prosecutors time to do a superseding indictment, which that means they had all this stuff planned up
Mm.
already. So the plea deal, this is something I want to touch on a little bit, right? When Dr. York was put in jail for like 8 months and like 8 months and like 4 days, um, about 8 months, he was under duress. He was tortured.
Mm.
You know, they were doing all kind of they was putting him in jail with like murderers when Dr. York is not classified as a violent offender. They was playing the music, keeping the lights on, and like playing loud music.
Mm.
Putting them on the floors with rats and stuff. And you gotta remember, this is like at the time, this is like a 54, 55-year-old man. You
Mm.
see what I'm saying? Who's suffering from angioedema. All right. So uh so they psychologically tortured him, and whoever and whatever else they did, they probably never told people. But then they rushed him into this plea deal, which he wasn't at the original plea deal hearing. The lawyers made a deal with the government behind his back. He didn't even know nothing about it for 8 months. They never
Mm.
seen him, never seen any type of documents. And the only way he found out was through another inmate because the inmate was able to watch TV and told him about it. But
Mm.
they had Dr. York locked down 24 hours a day with no television, no no paperwork, couldn't get none of that stuff.
Mm.
Uh, so and then they rushed him in that plea, and that's the video where you see him on the
Circulating,
YouTube
yeah.
circulating, right? And he looked like he's out of it.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Because
hmm
he was tortured and
Yeah.
he's trying to catch up what's going on. So imagine that you being tortured every day for 8 months, and then your attorney pops up to say, "Well, you got a court date tomorrow, or today. Let's go." What you mean court date? Well, we made a plea deal with the
Mm.
government, and you're going to plead. What you mean? I didn't make that. I wasn't there to defend my life. I wasn't there when that deal was made. Why you didn't come get me? You know? Uh,
Mm.
well, we felt like it was for your best interest because we felt like you're not going to be able to win this trial. You're going to get 1,000 years if we don't get this plea deal.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So and this is why you have to listen to on Clubhouse the Dr. York's guilty plea. On it's on Clubhouse, and it's on how Dr. York was framed on YouTube as well. So so what they did was they sent him to a psychological evaluation to say that he was crazy because he claimed his indigenous status
Mm.
as a sovereign, right? Because he felt like he was not going to get a fair trial when he's being tried by Confederates. You got to
Mm.
remember, this is the Georgia. This is the good old boy South. This is the KKK circuit you're talking about, and their descendants and ancestors.
Mm.
So he felt like he wasn't going to get a fair trial, and his lawyer sent him to get a psychological evaluation for standing up and claiming his indigenous status.
Mm.
While he was sent off for about 4 months, they gave the prosecutor time to do a superseding indictment and come up with structuring charges.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So the structuring charges is bogus because in order for you to do a cash transaction report, right,
Mm.
you will have to make a deposit of over $10,000. The reason why they use Abigail Washington and Nicole Hardin is because Abigail Washington was in charge of the land
Mm.
since 1998. She said this herself on the recantment video,
Yeah, I see that.
right?
In charge of the finances. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So she handled all the money and was making the deposits along with Nicole Hardin, who's the other co-conspirator and witness for the government,
Mm.
Nikki Lopez. So when they put Abigail Washington on the stand and asked her, "Well, did Dr. York tell you how much money you deposited?" I think it was 10,000, right?
Mm.
Well, that's not according to how Jabari explains it. That's not a crime.
Mm.
It's over 10,000, and on top of that, they never produced the documents that Abigail Washington said she thought was how much it deposit she made. She didn't even know.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? But they never did uh brought any paperwork or documents to prove that what she said.
Yep.
That never was presented. So that fact alone in the structuring is bogus. But they
Mm.
used the structuring to bring in the RICO. You see what I'm saying?
Yep. Because
And
they were
and
really going after the land
they was
and the
going after the
assets. Yeah.
land.
Yeah. Mm.
To they wanted that land and they wanted to sell it. What Jacob and them plotted to do, and his friends, what they plotted to do is with the government to get that land and sell it, and they would get the um not the proceeds, but it's a legal term for it.
Right.
I can't remember the
We
legal.
get a cut basically. Yeah.
Get a cut of the money, and on top of that, with them making book deals and movie deals, and what you start to see with the documentaries of Hulu.
Yeah.
But the
Mm-hmm.
more they talk, the more they expose themselves because they're lying. You see, so it gave them time to do the structuring charges, which is bogus, and the RICO, which is bogus, all under a fake state Georgia molestation case, which was enveloped into the Mann Act.
Mm.
And this is why the court transcripts was sealed, and they didn't want nobody, intelligent people, to go do the research and see what they did. And but they had to keep blasting, he's a molester, to trigger those endorphins in the brain to shut
Mm.
people down, to make him feel like, yeah, he's guilty. He did that. Yeah, he did it.
Yeah.
And to the point that even in the prison where he could be assassinated. Because
Mm.
that's what they do to child molesters in the prisons.
Even the whole point of like identification of a person where we see the misnomer Dwight York. I mean, it's like even on that basis alone, it's like you've got the wrong person, but yet they still proceeded anyway with that name, knowing that there's no official ID really to say that's Dr. York. So it's almost like you've got the wrong person, but yet you still carry on and proceed.
Exactly. Um, and here's the thing, and this is based on the research that other tribal members have done, is that nowhere in the state of in the United States that there was an individual born in 1945 by the name of Dwight York
Mm.
in 1945. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So there's a York, but no first name, but not a Dwight York.
Mm.
So who's Dwight York? You see,
Exactly.
who's and they did that, right? They used the White York, which is his son's name,
Mm.
and not Malachi York, because they hid the fact that Malachi York is a Liberian diplomat.
Correct.
So if they know, if they say, well, if we put Malachi York, then he's going to get out under a diplomatic status.
Mm.
So if you say Dwight York, that's not on the diplomatic papers.
Wow. So as you start to peel the layers of the case, you start to see all the discrepancies and the plot, for the land, for just wanting to bring Dr. York down. And you start to see things like they even hold or held court on Martin Luther King's birthday, something that is clearly a violation,
Hmm.
that's not supposed to happen. You
Hmm.
start to see people like Sheriff Sills all of a sudden becoming a building inspector and having so many titles that are nothing to do with being a sheriff, just coming on the land just to kind of like, intimidate people and all kinds of stuff. So there are just so many things that anyone who actually takes the time to put their emotions aside, emotions aside, as you said, because
Hmm.
all the haters of the so-called like religious world, they've always had a vendetta anyway, because he came showing them, the truth about their various religions, whether it was Islam, Christianity, or Judaism, how even in the case, the holy tablets became a prominent part of the case, which really had nothing to do with the case. But all of these things start to show you how they were really just after him for putting out the information, if you really look at it. Is that a fair assessment, would you say?
Oh yeah, definitely. You will have to really do a depth, and I'm speaking, for the, so the public can do their own research
Hmm.
and really look at the history of how it all started with zoning disputes. I was there.
Mm.
I was there. I've seen it. I never lived on the land, but I would come up there. I would go up there to work every weekend. This is before the pyramids. It was called Kadesh.
Yeah.
And yeah, I had my hands in the dirt, help
Yeah, I was
building
there
up the
too,
land and
so
everything.
I know exactly what you're saying.
Right. So
Yeah.
yeah, I used to say, remember all the brothers coming from and the sisters coming from England. You know what I
Right.
mean? I actually
Hmm.
hung out with a few of them because I was always teasing you guys about your accents and everything. But
That's right.
well, it's all good, man. So yeah, but if the you know to you have to do your research. You can't be listening to these detractors or these agents, pretty
Mm.
much, who are sent in to keep blasting the Dr. York as a child molester when he's not. You see what I'm
Mm.
saying? And they keep, like I said, that's a trigger word, keeps triggering, trigger.
Mm.
And but once you pull back the layers, once you start blocking out all the sexual explicit stuff that these so-called victims said Dr. York did to them, and realize this all this is a script.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? That's like taken straight out of a pornography. Because you gotta remember, Abigail Washington, she was, if you I mean a lot of people don't know that, when she was in charge of the land, she was the one that was ordering all this pornography.
Mm.
Dr.
Yeah.
York didn't live on that land. He
Yep.
wasn't there. He left that land in '98.
Yeah, it was in
He moved.
Athens.
He
Yeah.
was in Athens, Georgia,
Mm.
right? So all that stuff that they found on the land came from Abigail and
Mm-hmm.
Nikki Lopez, all the way down to the Pink Panther doll, which
Mm.
they said had a penis, so a phallus attached to it. It wasn't a phallus; it was the tail was sewed on backwards. You see, and then when they did the DNA testing on it, Dr. York DNA wasn't on there. As a matter of fact, speaking about the DNA, the PSI report
Mm.
is false. It's
That's the
forged.
pre-sentencing report, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because on the pre-sentencing report, uh, they said that Dr. York, uh, you gotta remember these young adults, right? They will all had promiscuous behaviors on the
Mm.
land. And they was sleeping with each other, molesting the kids. The Nicole Hardin, she was like, I think it's 28, 27, 28, molested 11-year-old.
Mm.
She's one of the government key witness. Nikki Lopez was molesting 14 and 15-year-olds.
Mm.
Abigail Washington was molesting underage, and they were all sleeping with each other too. So all the what you call that, the KY
STD,
jelly,
but yeah.
the STDs, the KY jelly, the everything in that house. It's just a house Abigail Washington lived in was put there by her. And so
Wow.
when they did the DNA testing on the pillows and the Pink Panther doll, they did not find Dr. York's DNA. But what happened is that they put in the PSR report that Dr. York supposedly gave some of these young people chlamydia, herpes
Mm.
simplex 1, and gonorrhea. And Dr. York never had, and it was never proven to this day,
Mm.
had a history of where he had any of those sexually transmitted diseases. As a matter of fact, the government offered to take the sexually transmitted diseases out from
Yeah,
the case, to
that's
throw it out
crazy because
at the
that would
beginning
be
of the trial.
strengthening their case, if anything. So why would
Exactly.
they opt to take it out?
Because the attorney, I think it was Agent Patrick, was like, well, if you're going to say, that he had this and that, well, let's do the DNA test and or something to that effect. But Jabari he can explain
Mm.
that part of it better than I can, you know. And but it has something to do with bringing an expert in,
Right.
and that kind of scared the government. So, nah, let's just take this out. But instead of them taking it out, they just left it. They just threw it in there anyway.
Mm.
Even in his, because I did the research on, I was doing research on Dr. York's case, and I came across uh, the case in the prison where he was going uh, taking I guess the prison to court because of his angioedema, and
Yeah.
they kept saying he didn't have it on angioedema, but they did all this blood work and blood tests. And what I noticed in the blood work and blood tests that they have done, there was never anything mentioned of him having herpes, chlamydia, gonorrhea.
Mm.
No, nowhere. He had high blood pressure, right,
Yep,
and
obviously,
other
and
things,
his age and the stress of everything. So,
right.
yeah, but that's a very interesting point because, like, although they didn't want to do the expert report on the so-called herpes and chlamydia and so on,
Hmm.
it was already done for the angioedema. Therefore, there were records of, like you say, no traces of those diseases or anything in his blood work. So
Hmm.
again, yeah, very, very important point. Mm,
Much credit to, like I said, the brother Jabari, because he
yeah.
as far as the case it and the intricate details of the trial and what people don't see and what they're not showing the public is all these things that the so-called victims who are on these Hulu documentaries and these Discovery IDs, the things that they did and why they took immunity deals. You see what I'm
Mm,
saying? And
mm,
why they didn't put Jacob York on the in the federal or sheriff cells. And that's who started all the
mm,
whole case. But they were never called. Why didn't they call Jacob? Well, they probably didn't call Jacob because they knew he was involved with they would have found out back then he was involved with Puffy, P. Diddy, and he was the one that was throwing those P. Diddy parties.
mm.
And he was in the middle and mix uh of the East Coast and West Coast wars that led up to Tupac and Biggie's death.
Biggie's death. Yeah.
You
Okay.
see, and he's
Mm,
also responsible with on Riviera for putting out Little Kim 1996 album called Hardcore.
mm.
And that's the one you see on the cover with her legs spread it open. And they
Yeah.
called it hardcore, but they left the porn out of it. It was really hardcore porn, but they left porn out and just put hardcore.
Mm.
That shows the mentality of Jacob York and Henri Riviera. You
Yep.
see what I'm saying? So, and Jacob York is the executive producer of their 1996 album. You see what I'm saying?
Mm,
So the whole perversion, because you got to remember, Little Kim laid that foundation.
mm.
And after her followed Cardi B's and the Megan Thee
That's right.
Stallions and the what's the other one? The Sexy Reds
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and it's so forth. She laid that she's
That
the blueprint
foundation.
for that.
Yeah. Mm,
You see what I'm saying?
mm.
And what you got all the pretty much have these young women trapped into this this prostitution mind state of
Mm.
today. You see what I'm saying? And this is why Dr. York did not want to fund Jacob York's support of Little
Musical.
Kim
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
music career, because he said, nah. He and Dr. York spoke out against that what Puffy and them was doing.
Mm.
But now look what happened today.
Yep.
And they could have did more to Puffy, you know what I'm saying? But that would have opened the whole can of worms because they would have saw Jacob in it. Yeah, which I'm pretty sure they did,
Mm.
but since Jacob became an FBI informant, that's why they didn't call him, because in a way it was protected him.
Mm.
But yeah, he had everything to do with it. And actually it didn't even start in New York with him. I mean, in Georgia, it actually started in New York, according to his sister, Kier,
Mm.
who called a meeting, and Jacob York called a meeting with his own family to set up his father first, and you can reference that in the book of the Lightning from
Lightning
the
from the
East book,
east. Mm.
because Jacob's own friend Damian Pryor, Jacob told Damian that the FBI approached him at a club in New York. And then you can reference that with what Jolene Ward said when Seals reached out to her, and she reached out to the FBI in New York. I think his name
Mm.
was Nathan Deal.
Right.
So it sounded like Nathan Deal was the one that approached Jacob about his father in New York. So you got to connect the dots.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Once you start putting everything together, you start saying, "Oh, okay." And then yeah, it's a whole lot. This case is
You're right. If we
it's
put it together and bring it to today, now that people are or people should be clear that it was, the conspirators, it was their doing, they're really the ones responsible for what they're accusing Dr. York of. Obviously the whole conspiracy in terms of going to Florida. Abigail already kind of gave her recantment. They didn't get the book deals. They didn't get any. any money. So now that all this is coming out, what's next? I mean, in terms of, what's the next course of action?
Well, the next course of action is definitely for the people to
Right.
get involved in learning the conspiracy against Dr. York. You can get the book Lightning from the East. You can order that from Amazon. It's called Lightning from the East: The Rise, Incline, and Rise of Dr. Malachi Z York.
Mm.
And it was a tribute to Prodigy of Mob Deep,
Yeah.
who studied Dr. Malachi Z York and spoke up on Dr. York's behalf because he knew Jacob York and Jay Z and all these people, and he knew the truth
Mm.
of what, because he saw what they were doing,
Yeah.
and he knew that they were the ones that was doing all that,
Yeah.
uh, that crazy stuff. But you can read that book, especially the conspiracy part about it, because you'll see stuff that's in the book that's excerpts from a transcript about the government's key witnesses and how they made it on the stand that they were molesting children,
Mm.
and they took immunity, and how Abigail was paid, gave favorable concessions, and she was paid by the government to lie on Dr. York. That's all in the Lightning from the East, which is taken from the transcripts.
Right.
That's in that book. If you can't get the transcript, you can get a redacted version. But like I said, the redacted meaning the names are blocked out,
Mm.
and that's done not to, the judge said we did that to protect the children. There was no children
Yeah, it weren't
on
children.
the stand that was testifying against Dr. York. These were adults. He did that so it would confuse people that reading the transcripts, and they're thinking that these are children that are talking about what Dr. York did, and it's not. It's adults. They think it's children that's talking about what Dr. York did because of what the media was saying, because
Mm.
of Rob Preacher and Bill Ozinski and all
Yeah.
these the good
The
old boy
Georgia
circuits
Times. Yeah. Right.
in
Mm-hmm.
Middle Georgia who are all friends with the sheriff, who was doing slanderous articles way before this whole child molestation thing came up. They were already calling Dr. York cult and the Wapians crazy UFO cult,
Mm.
et cetera, et cetera. You see?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a whole lot to that people can do I'll tell people to do their own research, right?
Mm.
Look at it from a binary mind frame, not an emotional mind frame where you get stuck on this will happen to kids. No, look at the lies. Once
Mm.
because they cloud you, fog your mind up with the whole molestation thing.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But you will have to get past that and look at the facts. Get down to the thing like, nah, this stuff is made up. This girl said they had a they practiced this before they went to the feds, which means they tricked the feds. They tricked the FBI with a lie.
Mm.
And this is what Jelene Ward saying. This is what Abigail and them told me. So they had to know it was a lie. That they knew it was a lie from the moment. It was a lie from the start when she didn't have no witnesses that said that Dr. York said he came across state lines. They never produced any type of document. They never showed any type of hotel receipts, no gas receipts, right? No, from when Dr. York came to Georgia and who he came with.
Mm.
But according to Dr. York, he didn't come down here with no kids. He came. He It was people already down here in Georgia before he
Mm-hmm.
got here.
That's right. Imhotep said that as well. And
Right. He was going to come
yeah.
down here, but he left abruptly because there was a assassination attempts on his life while he was upstate New York,
Mm.
Monticello, Georgia, on Mount Zion, on the mountain. That the Sunnis, the
Yeah.
Arabs, Middle
Yeah.
Eastern men
Yeah.
came up there, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it was a shootout. They tried to kill him, and he got injured from it. So his son and his daughter packed the stuff up, packed him and hired a bus which ironically, Dr. York says it himself, had the same symbol as the it looked like the same vehicle that the assassins came out of when they came to kill him.
Wow.
And they got him out of New York. They hired these people, this bus, and they got him out of New York. You
Wow.
see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And do the FBI know about that? Yes, they do, because they surveillance. Dr. York been on under surveillance since 1967, and a brother Mason, I think it's the brother. Uh, I think it was is one of the brothers that be on the no, that's not Messon. But Messon did a video where um they showed you back in 1967 how the FBI was going after black bookstores,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm. I think
And
I read that even in the I Know This Man, I think if I'm correct. But yeah. But
mhm,
go
yeah,
ahead. Yeah.
but in the video it explains how Dr. York, when he first started writing about Nuwapu in 1967, that's when they started attacking. So they already had him under surveillance. They already knew who he was
Mm.
since 1967. And nowhere, anywhere from 1967 all the way up to 2000 there was nothing, anything about child molestation
Mm.
until Jacob York popped up.
That's a very interesting point again, because yeah, if you have been watching somebody for that long, and even Sheriff Sewell said that he was
Hmm.
watching him and the surveillance and all of this, then when it comes to providing evidence, there's no video evidence, no DNA evidence, no receipts, no, like you say, absolutely nothing to
Nothing.
do
No
with,
no documents,
yeah, it,
no cash transaction reports of which Abigail said she made a deposit, which even in itself wasn't illegal if you make a $10,000
also the
deposit.
accountant, Dr. York's long-term accountant, saying
Hmm.
he actually overpaid tax. So again, that didn't wash with that whole
Hmm.
deposit thing. Yeah.
Hmm.
So the audience, they really have to do their own due diligence.
Exactly.
Yeah, the Lightning from the East book is an excellent source. You can get that even, we sell that on our stores. Yeah, it's really the emotional, as you say, the trigger words of children being put in any sort of harm's way is going to obviously trigger people. And then on top of that, you have the media and these minions and people that hated Dr. York anyway, just for helping them to tell them the truth about their various religions and so on, because he put out the books 360 questions to ask the Hebrew Israelite Israeli Church and the Orthodox Sunni Muslims. So it's obviously very clear that there were different people who wanted him out the way for various agendas.
Hmm.
We haven't even touched on the Ronald's plantation and people like that who also obviously had their own objectives and agenda to
Oh
take the
yeah,
land.
right. The Reynolds plantation that's connected to Bush. Those are Bush, the President Bush at the time, uh,
Right.
Junior. Those were his people, his friends.
Wow.
Yeah, remember Bush is the one that appointed royals into office.
Mm.
He also appointed Robert Mueller, who was the director of FBI at the time, into
Okay.
office. And Robert Mueller was one of the ones originally that went after Trump, President Trump,
Wow.
to take him down,
Mm.
and Epstein. But he gave Epstein a pass,
Right.
and it took him down some years later. And they had excuse me, they had all kind of evidence against Epstein. You see what I'm saying? But they had
Yeah.
nothing on Dr. York. Not one document, no videotapes, DNA, no nothing. It's just a hearsay by people who took immunity deals for the crimes that they did
Mm.
and blamed it on Dr. York. They did a whole Face Off. Remember that movie Face Off with John Travolta and Nicolas
Yeah.
Cage? That's
Nicholas
exactly what
Cage.
Jacob did.
Yeah.
He put what he did to the children on his father, and then took over his father's life to become that uh, a pillar of the community.
Mm.
When in fact that he's a snake.
The other way around. Yeah.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's been some amazing insight. Is there anything else you want to talk on or touch on before we round off? I'm definitely looking forward to Jabari coming on because, like you say, he's gonna be able to give us a little bit more of the
Hmm.
detail and the nuggets that I think the public really do need to know.
Exactly. Yes. I did you get the links to sign the petition? The
Okay, yeah,
petition
yeah, we,
links?
we we can put them up, and also we can put the books up, the Lightning from the East, and
Hmm.
obviously the Free Dr. York website is already on your profile, so we can yeah, direct people there as we do all the time anyway, so people
The
can.
Clubhouse, and also the Abigail Washington Recantment video, as well
Right.
as Farrah Muhammad's, because though those are important key things. So people who may have saw the Hulu documentaries with Abigail Washington, but they may
Mm,
never seen the recantment videos he did 20 years ago. You see,
sure.
so people can see that,
Mm, yeah.
and they will understand what's being said here today.
Well, we know that Dr. York's innocent, and we've
Mhm.
proclaimed that from the get-go, and we will continue to do so. And we know, he's going to be free and exonerated from all of these false allegations. And yeah, we just want
Facts.
more people to just keep letting the world know, because they've done a good job in the, media and the internet and so on and so forth. And it was all to dissuade people from getting to know what Dr. York's really about as he's an entrepreneur in terms of just motivating us and people to be the best they can be. Tamaray was really the most modern Black Wall Street that people have ever seen. He's a philanthropist. He gave a lot of money to charities and all kinds of stuff. And of course, the writing of so much books and knowledge that has uplifted many people from all walks of life, races across the globe. Yeah, he stands for too much good for anybody to try to come and drag his name down with these frivolous accusations. So yeah, we want to make sure that we shout that out loud and clear for everyone and anyone who cares, to check out.
Right. And you know what? It's one more thing I forgot to mention.
Sure, go ahead.
I gotta say this, that the during the deliberations, you remember I was telling you about how he included the Georgia's law of child molestation in a
Yeah,
federal
in the federal, yeah.
in the Mann Act.
Yeah.
At the beginning of the deliberations, he told the jurors to find Dr. York guilty.
Wow.
He didn't say guilty or innocent. He said guilty. So that
Literally.
right there, yeah, that's in the transcripts. Jabari has been reading on the Help Free Dr. York Clubhouse.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up
Yeah, and it
as
was a
well.
hung jury, right? Remember, because of the one
Zero
Nagar.
62.
Yeah,
Well, actually,
exactly.
there was two of them.
Mm,
It was two of them. But the judge put Juror 62 on blast because she had problems with the Mann Act.
mm,
You see what I'm saying?
yeah,
She had problems with the Mann Act. It never went into details of why she had problems with the Mann Act, but I assume it's based on the things that the Jabari has discovered in the trial transcripts. For one, Ed Garland examining the lead investigator, FBI, the federal investigator, Jalene Ward, where
mm.
she admitted to having no witnesses that said Dr. York came across that lines with the purpose of having
Intention.
sex with
Yeah.
children, and uh, the judge, including the Georgia State child molestation laws into the Mann Act, into a federal Mann Act.
Mm,
You see what I'm saying? So I assume that's why, but we would never know because we don't know who juror 62 is because the jurors were anonymous to the public.
mm. And also, it's interesting that a lot of the things that were dropped before the kind of re-indictment and then before going to trial, people still think that those were still a part of the actual trial when they weren't, you know. So there's all
Exactly.
these little things that, yeah, once you
Yeah,
start to look into it.
right. And also, people think that Dr. York, when he pled guilty, that he was immediately sentenced. No, he originally pled not guilty, was tortured, and then later on was tortured into making a guilty a plea,
Mm,
which was done behind his back with his own attorneys, who Dr. York said was working with the government. And then, but then he withdrew his guilty plea
mm.
and then went to trial. And that's what you don't hear. You keep hearing in the public blasting. Well, he pled guilty, he did a
Yeah,
guilty plea,
exactly.
but he also withdrew it. And why I'm not blasting that part about
Mm.
out there like that?
And even that video is so suspect. I mean, we looked at that
Hmm.
video and you will see glitches in it, like the bit in the Matrix where the cat is it's like there was a glitch and you're thinking it's obviously edited and the sound is all bad and you can hardly hear him and it's just Dr. York has never ever looked the way he looked in that video. So those of us who know
Hmm.
him know that that was well out of character.
Hmm.
Yeah, and we
And,
know about the
and
torture and the deprivation of sleep and all
hmm.
the stuff that was designed to psychologically mess him up. And then hopefully they were thinking when they sent him for the evaluation that they were going to find out that he was mentally unstable or something, but it still came out with him, you know, with flying colors that he was of sound mind despite the torture and all that type of, you know,
Hmm.
yeah.
Exactly. And that's the one thing issue that Jabbar has raised, that Dr. York's attorney at the time, who was at Garland or the Garland firm, they did not do a gag order,
Mm,
or and that then you wonder why, like, why they didn't do a gag. That was set up deliberately. They, of course, it was set up because they had a camera videotaping it, so they want this spread it to the public. See, he
mm,
pled guilty,
right.
and uh, it, that's why you have to listen to Dr. York's guilty plea explain on Court Clubhouse
Mm,
and on how Dr. York is framed on YouTube, because he explains that he was under duress, and then he was told about his wife was going through being treated the same way
that's
that he was
Kathy,
being
right?
treated.
Kathy, yeah.
Kept right, and then there
Right.
was other two women who they lied on, said that they was involved in it, and they said not, they wasn't involved in it. They
Mm,
didn't. Dr. York didn't do none of that. So he was told that they were being treated and tortured like he was being treated and tortured, and he
mm,
didn't want that to happen to them. So yeah, Dr. York was definitely railroaded, manipulated on so many different, on the part of the federal and on part of his attorneys,
mm.
specifically the Ed Garland, Manny Aurora, and Jonathan Marks.
Yeah, Aurora
Oh,
looks as
oh
guilty
man,
as
it's
anything on that video,
yeah,
man. It's
right.
yeah.
To make him look guilty,
Mm,
But everybody, a lot of people know, people plea out because they don't feel like they're going to get a fair trial or be able to um, beat their case.
mm.
You
Yeah,
see.
I mean, I started
Mhm.
doing some research on the amount of people that go through that plea that they offer them, and it's amazing just how many cases, like you've just said, that people just take it because they think, they have no chance, and not being tried amongst your own peers and all that kind of the jury. Yeah, there was just so many holes in this case, and it's good that we're actually exposing it. And the conspirators, I mean, they've got to be put on blast as much as possible because
Mhm.
what I mean, the fact that they don't even feel the remorse of putting an innocent man in, in jail for, over 20 something years. Yeah,
Exactly.
it's really
And
crazy.
they're running around making Hulu documentaries and Discovery and all kind of documentaries,
Mm,
and they're not telling about the stuff they did, how they was molesting kids. Why you're not putting that in the documentaries
mm,
in the on Discovery ID and the Hulu? They're not saying
wow.
none of that stuff.
Yeah.
Why about them taking immunity deals? So that I know about, that I know of. I
Mm,
haven't
right.
seen them say that.
All right, my brother. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on the platform and for yeah, just clearing up some of the misconceptions about the case. And I'm sure, we can always do another part whenever you're ready. But we're
Right.
looking forward to
Yes,
getting
definitely, man.
Jabari to
I
come
really
on.
appreciate you. Yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
because it's so much. I just have to just pack in what I can at a short amount of time,
tour.
and and try
Yeah.
to get as much out. But I really appreciate you, um, Saken, what
Towel.
you're doing and having me on here to
All right.
give me an opportunity to help free Dr. York and clear his name,
Mm,
and stand up for the injustice that was done against him.
tour.
Stand up to it.
Yeah, and that's what
Hmm.
that matters right now. I mean, we're gonna bring anyone and everyone. I'm looking forward to speaking to some other brothers and sisters as well, because
Hmm.
what people forget is that as long as Dr. York's been going through this, the entire tribe, family, women, children, elders have also, and of course ourselves have been going through a lot. And so we
Exactly.
all been in prison with him because
Exactly.
we are not gonna stop until obviously, he's home. So
He
yeah,
said he's
once
home and name clear and exonerated.
exactly, exactly. All right, Zamal Tawul Kum, thank you for coming on. All
That
right,
was excellent.
take care.
All
Wadu.
right. What do?